first thing in the morning, and then because I didn't do mine till about 4:30, just made me look like the worst daughter in the world. Not impressed. Not impressed. Right, I don't know. Are we live?
We are.
Like we're live. Hello, Facebook. How you doing, everyone? How's your week been? Ours has been, I don't know how ours has been. I feel like I'm not on this planet this week at all. I'm in a completely weird space where this morning I was pretty sure it was Saturday morning. And I was kind of like laid there in bed, and then there was this, like, my phone kept pinging with like messages and things, and I was like, it's really weird. And then I had this realization that it actually wasn't Saturday morning, and I don't think I've ever moved quite so fast in my life. But yeah, there you go. It has been a really, really strange week with just so much going on, so many calls, and yeah, loads of stuff happening. How about you guys?
Whiz by. My first week back, so I was on holiday last week. So catching up and getting back into the swing of things. I can't believe it's Friday tomorrow.
Yep, week has gone far too quick, pretty much. So yeah, it's already thinking about next week now.
So what have you been buried in this week, Mark?
Bit of everything, really. So normal sort of website stuff as we've been working on for a while. But also print has actually started to sort of creep back into people's mindset at the minute. So various things from sort of leaflets, business cards, and that sort of thing, really. So, but I think people are obviously getting geared up to getting back out there. But also a lot of people are having to do things that, you know, maybe are more information sort of pieces, sort of posters, display things to, you know, obviously if people are visiting their offices and workplaces, they've got to display these kind of things now as well. So it's a mix of things, really.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I've seen, obviously you haven't been in the office, but you get your brochures and things from our print suppliers, and we had one come through that I was flicking through that saw, like different types of like perspex type products that could be branded, and boxes for you to put your sanitizer stands and, that sort of stuff. And I think there's some sort of quite interesting ideas coming through in terms of how people can put things in place, but it still be branded at the same time.
Yeah. No, I think that's the key. And even down to things like masks. If you've got to wear masks, you can get those branded and things. So, when we do get back in the office, maybe it'll have to be GU face masks all around or something.
Maybe.
or
can I just colour the logo on here? Does that go against brand guidelines?
Well, it depends. Depends if you get it like in the right proportions.
Okay.
You can send out guidelines, Mark. We'll all copy them. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, colouring in. That's what marketing does, doesn't it?
Maybe that's what we should do. We send out a little kit with like a disposable face mask and green and orange crayons.
Yeah.
And then everyone
brand your own.
Yeah.
Brand your own. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
So years and years, I don't know, Mark, if you'll remember this, years and years and years and years and years ago, we were like in the old office, and do you remember we had those paper, like the paper cups that like brown corrugated, like the double walled things?
Yeah.
And do you remember us doing self-portraits on the side of them so we knew whose was whose?
No, I must have blanked that one out.
All I'm saying, guys, when it comes to drawing self-portraits on the side of a corrugated hot cup, my skills are much better than Mark's. That's all I'm saying.
That's probably why I blanked it out then.
I've actually got, God knows where, but there is a photo of it somewhere. I think maybe it's just on Facebook and it appears on like my like your memories thing, your time hop thing. So I'll have to share it with you next time it comes round. But
that was a good drawing, Amanda, on your mug.
Actually, a little bit of animation. I did it all myself.
Cool. Okay, so what's been happening this week? It's sort of social media news-wise. It feels like things are starting to move again. It's been really quiet the last few weeks in terms of new stuff coming out and like developments, that kind of stuff. But yeah, over the last week, there's been quite a few things. So what have you guys got to share? Don't dive in at once.
Who's going first? We don't want to speak over each other, do we?
No.
Go on, Pam, you go.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, well, actually, there's two things that, actually, one is not from this week, one is from a few weeks ago. And I did actually mention it at the time, but I don't know if anyone else is as big a Pinterest fan as I am, but I was gutted to receive an email a few weeks ago to say that their trial for their stories feature had stopped, which I've been loving, absolutely loving their stories feature on Pinterest. But I believe that they are going to be coming back with something that's a bit more shoppable. So, you know, buying products and things on the stories, but haven't seen what that is yet. And then my next shock email that came across this week, love my Pinterest emails, was about, there's been an upsurge in searches for Christmas on Pinterest, like a massive upsurge.
Wow.
An increase on 77%, which is 3 times higher than this time last year. So I want to know who's looking at Christmas stuff.
I have bought Christmas presents already.
What? It's you. It's your fault.
Yeah, it's all those searches are Amanda.
I was a bit like, who's at Christmas? I'm not even at summer holidays yet.
Well, you see stuff, you think it'd be good for somebody. So I can't keep justifying buying things for myself in lockdown. I have to start buying stuff for other people.
Do you know, I suppose there's a certain amount of people kind of, you know, people are still on furlough. And although they might be going back into work over the next couple of weeks, and that's seemingly more imminent that's happening for a lot of people, I think there's also a little bit of people are scared of if they're not going back into work, they're likely going into redundancy. So maybe they're also thinking, right, how do we manage our money and all that kind of stuff. So trying to be organised with that in mind. Plus there's the time on your hands thing. And I don't know, it's different for us because we've been working all the way through it, but talking to some friends that have been on furlough, I think they've gotten to that point where they've run out of jobs to do in the house. Like every room's been redecorated now. They've had the nice weather, so the garden's started, and now it's like it's thumb twiddling. And so I wonder if it's just kind of what's the next thing we can work on, and that's what's come up.
One of the things that was noted is that kind of like a lot of people are thinking, actually this will be the big celebration this year, Christmas, so everything's going to be big and very, very, very festive and very celebratory. Emily will be loving that. Though she's not here. or Emily loves Christmas.
Emily is the in-house Christmas elf.
I'm delighted to hear that.
Yeah. Do you know, maybe as well, obviously, like if you think of all the holidays you might have had that you haven't done, whether it's weekends away or some people go for like a week at Easter, don't they? Or if they're now not looking at summer, they're probably not booked a last minute summer holiday. And so maybe it is actually as well, there's that little bit of people have got money, even though they are being careful, they have still got money to spend, so that's having an impact as well.
Can I share some data?
Go on.
Can I get my geek on? I've been reading some. Christina's like, oh, do you have to?
It'll be great.
No, just to kind of back that up, because obviously there are trends that we're seeing globally and in the UK, and people have been delaying purchases, obviously, because we didn't know what was going to happen. But now, so kind of mirroring the spike in the pandemic, people's concern about their finances and concern about what's going to happen, it sort of peaked mid to end April, and now it's kind of back at the level it was just before lockdown, so kind of late March. So people are sort of delaying purchases, but their sort of optimism, even though they think that people, we're going to still be having some long effects from this, they are wanting to see some normality. They want to see brands going back to normal. So there is a big sentiment around saying, look, even though we're a little bit cautious still with our spending, we're really responsive to discounts, promotions, sales, that kind of thing, because we kind of feel like we're getting a bargain. So as you say, maybe people are planning ahead. Yeah. And some of the trends as well that are sticking around, so some things have stuck and we've kept with, other things have kind of gone by the wayside. So I've read somewhere that people, Data Davis, I've just seen, I've got a nickname. It's making me excited. Yeah, so some of the trends have stuck around. Like I saw someone say, I love how like all the pub quizzes and a lot of things have just kind of fallen by the wayside. Nobody really discussed it, but we just kind of stopped doing them. So all those things we were doing right at the beginning of lockdown, checking in with everyone, we've kind of gone, right, this is kind of what is normal now. So we don't need to overcompensate.
Do you know, I was talking to someone who shall remain nameless. I was talking to them yesterday, and the conversation we were having was ways in which we can avoid the people knocking on our front doors.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're in that point where, you know, like the phone's going and you see the name and you're like, they just want to chat. And I'm so bored I don't like people. I don't really want to talk to them every 3 days, and there's really nothing to catch up on. And you're looking at it going, oh God, I'm going to have to answer. And she was saying where she lives, sort of, she's in like in a cul-de-sac, and there's been a real sense of community there, and it was really great to begin with. And they were, you know, when we've had the nice days, they've been doing like quizzes in the street and that sort of stuff. But actually now, when it's the fourth person that day knocking on the door, going, oh, I've made a cake, here's, you know, here you go, or whatever it might be, just like, leave me alone, I'm trying to work. Because she's got her own business as well. So it is at the beginning, we were all very like, you know, how are we going to look after each other and, you know, protect each other's sort of mental well-being and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, now we're all kind of like suffocated.
This is a bad term to use. I'm not, you know, making light of a serious situation, but in essence, the novelty has worn off. You know, that's what people are saying. It's kind of, it was a strange situation. We were all checking the news. So yesterday is a great example. I was watching the news at 10. They didn't report on the number of deaths until about between 10:15 and 10:20. And there was 140 plus people. And you think, God, you know, imagine back in March or something that happened, that would have been the headline news. How is it not? So, you know, people are kind of reading the room differently. And then yesterday there was a tweet put out by the Treasury encouraging us all to go back to the pub. You know, they have deleted it now because it's kind of a little video showing clinking glasses of Pimm's in the summer and people going, hooray, the pubs are opening again on, I think it's the 4th, isn't it, this weekend or Monday. And you know, loads of people have gone, are you mental, basically? It's not gone. You know, I know we need to get the economy moving, it's not gone. So there's kind of a still slightly, whilst I'm saying the novelty has worn off, there's still stuff there that we need to be aware of, and you have to read the tone of your consumers, of your audience correctly.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you've seen this week, Amanda, sort of news-wise? Or
changes on LinkedIn. So little change, there's a new reaction on LinkedIn. So, you know, when you can kind of do just a general like or something that makes you curious, there's now one that's kind of supporting. So it's like a little hand with a heart in it that shows that I'm supporting you. It's been quite a bad week for job losses and redundancy. So major brands out there, as you would expect, travel and retail have been the worst hit. I know in our sector, we've seen quite a few people affected as well. So again, LinkedIn, I think, has got a badge that people can use that says they're open for work. So they're receptive to having people contact them. And you can then click on the reaction that gives them some support for that as well. So So that's quite new. So yeah, it's a mixed week. There's positives and negatives, I think.
It's really funny on that support icon. So like, where you would normally hit like on a post on LinkedIn, you've got all these options there, and now there's this extra one. Well, Facebook did a similar thing quite early on. And I think it's another one of those situations where LinkedIn are they're slow to get to the party. They always get there eventually, but it's all, and it was announced a couple of weeks ago that they were testing this and they were looking at rolling it out. And at that time, I posted on LinkedIn and I said, basically, okay, great that they're thinking about it, but we've got it already over on Facebook. And the speed at which they move, are we going to kind of be past this before it's introduced? So it's literally, I think it started to roll out. It's only been a day or two, I think, since the rollout was announced. So, I mean, I'm still not seeing it. I can't see it being used on anything yet either. So have you actually got it yourself? Or
yeah, on app and on desktop. So I've got it on both platforms, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how quickly it rolls out across the whole of the platform. There's another thing on LinkedIn that there's not really been an announcement on it. It's just sometimes LinkedIn announce things. Sometimes they test things, but they forget to do it it's almost like they've forgotten to do it in test mode, and it suddenly rolls out, and they've not actually told anyone it's coming. We all realise, and then it vanishes again. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this, but it might disappear in 12 hours' time. And that's basically on a LinkedIn company page. You never used to be able to see who your followers were. Okay, and what's happened now is actually, so like yesterday, I got something like 104 notifications, one notification for every single page I'm an admin on, saying you've increased by this many followers this week. And when you clicked, it showed you the list of all the people that follow your company page.
Oh.
So actually, from a lead generation perspective, that's really, really strong. All of a sudden, we've got that list of names. We can go back to, you can go back to your sales team with, or, we can go back to our clients with and say, right, these are the people that have chosen to follow your page this week. Maybe highlight some of those names if we know they match the avatar, the ideal client that we're trying to achieve. So I fingers crossed it's going to stay, because I think that's a really, really strong move and really positive move. But like I say, I'm not seeing it announced anywhere. I'm not seeing any articles talking about it.
I was a little nosy at it in one of my clients' accounts.
I haven't seen that. So again, maybe it's things roll out in different.
It's one of those things where they just go new, and that's what you go, oh, what's new? Oh, let's have a look at that. And it is really weird that like Christina said, LinkedIn they're really quite funny about that. You just kind of go in one day and you've just got something that says new, and you're like, new? Hang on, what announcement? I didn't see an announcement. And then you're delving in and go, where's the new thing? And yeah, it's that. Yeah.
So when we did when they did the invitation to your connections, inviting your connections to follow your page, it was released, but it was really still in test mode. So it disappeared, and then it came back again. Then it disappeared. Then it came back again, and then about 3 months later, they announced that there was this new feature.
Yes,
so it's
so weird.
Really, really bizarre. Really bizarre.
Very fickle platform.
But if you've got a LinkedIn company page, go and you're an admin, go and have a look at it and check under your admin panel there and look in your analytics, and fingers crossed, hopefully you'll see it there.
You've got to scroll down the page when you do go into the section. There's a chart that you see first of all, and it's a bit further down, so it's not right at the top there, but yeah, it's
cool. So Pam, I just want to pick up on the stories thing. So stories as a function, like it's has rolled out everywhere. We've got stories. Stories are coming on LinkedIn. They've already been rolled out in a couple of countries, but it's kind of odd countries they've chosen to roll it out. Is like Brazil, for example, which doesn't make me think of a first kind of, one of the top countries in the world to roll something out in. Brazil doesn't jump to the top of the list for me personally. I don't know, could be wrong. But yeah, so we're getting stories there, stories on YouTube. Obviously, Instagram, we've got more tests, more things coming through functionality wise, from an Instagram stories perspective as well. So we'll probably talk about that in future weeks. So I find it really interesting that Pinterest are choosing to pull it.
It was a test feature. They always said it was a test feature. And I don't know, I don't know enough people to ask this question, but I don't know if everyone actually had access to it anyway, because it did imply that you were kind of like, you're one of the lucky ones. But I don't know whether that's kind of like a marketing ploy, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I was really surprised. I just got this email just to say, we've decided that we're no longer, it was a test and we're going to pull this feature now. But it sounded like, although it didn't, I couldn't really quite sort of visualize what they were trying to explain, but it did sound like it was going to be more like on a basis, like if you imagine like a specific story, like how to bake a cake. So, you get your ingredients and it would be like a step-by-step, or, a certain style, how to buy a product, how to look summary or whatever. Or it sounded like it was going to be more like that. But I don't understand how it can be that specific.
Yeah.
One of the things was recipes. That was one of the things that it said it will be more like, this is how you bake a cake and you'll have all the steps, and it obviously very much targeted at, certain businesses on how to, basically get to their webpage or, their product. I think that's what it sounded like. But I was kind of going, I don't really understand what they're saying there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But the thing is, Pinterest have been really on the ball at the moment. I mean, I'm kind of thrilled with how they seem to be like thriving right now.
So the thing is, for me, Pinterest has always been yes, it's a social media platform. It's never been one that's kind of been top of the list for me, one that I've done a lot of reading around, partly because as an individual, it just doesn't excite me. I'm not visual in that way. But the reality is it's always remained and it's always had its place, but it's because it's used like a search engine.
Yeah.
It's the only social media platform, I think, that is used in that way.
Yeah, definitely is. But I think it's just, for a lot of businesses, it's a missed opportunity certainly for retailers that are not using it, because the audience that you can get out to is just like massive. So I think that I always think it's a platform that retailers should all be using it, just to get out to globally out to a bigger audience. In some cases, you can reach a bigger audience than you can on your own website. So I just think it's a feature that should be used. It's the only platform that I go on after work at the moment. Sort of finished for the day after using social media for a whole day. It's always the one that I go on to. It's my absolute favorite. And just to kind of like, and I'm always trying to learn a little bit more about it. But yeah, well, I think it's, any retailer is silly if they're not using it.
Mm. So, Amanda, do you use it? What about you, Jane? Are you Pinterest users?
Not really.
Rarely. Christmas, to be honest, and crafty things. So if I go on and I'm looking, I use it very much for consumery stuff. So that's the only time, if you're looking at how to make, I don't know, balloon arches for a party or Christmas crafts or something, but not very rarely.
And Mark, I imagine you spend every weekend on it.
I think I last went on it in about 2013.
Was that to check like what was going on with Green Umbrella branding on the platform and keeping us in check? That probably genuinely would be the only time you used it.
Yeah, no, we did used to use it as a bit of a portfolio back in the day, but I don't think it ever really felt it was the right place for that. So yeah, it's just Like you say, I think craft people as well as retailers, those kind of, smaller people that are maybe on Etsy and things like that, they're going to have an audience on there as well. So it's worth it for that kind of thing. But it seems to be quite a divisive platform in terms of what sectors are actually, be on there and find it useful, really.
Yeah. I think any business that has a tie, so whether it's a product or a service, if you're tying into lifestyle in some sort of way or life events, then it's definitely a platform you should be leveraging. Outside of that, I think potentially it's quite tricky. So, it's one of those things, you guys have heard me say it so many times before, but every social media platform must have a purpose. You must have an objective for it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of those.
Yeah. For some of our clients, it's completely irrelevant, whereas for some, it's perfect.
Yeah.
If you're a recruiter in the construction sector or oil and pharmaceutical, then just no. But if you're selling craft goods, consumer goods, hand painted china, anything like that, we've got customers that work with us in that sphere. But so it's great for them, but not so for some of the others.
Yeah, okay.
So Jane, you're quiet.
Yeah,
what have you got to share? What have you been looking at this week?
The thing that I've seen that I actually quite like, you know how Facebook have been rolling out these new shops for sort of small businesses that maybe don't have a website or whatever. So they're starting to introduce now a new audience targeting thing in their ads, so that you can now target back to those people who may have looked at your new Facebook shop. So you can target people who've just viewed your products or added to a cart but not checked out, or people who've actually purchased it. So it just means that those tiny little people who are selling a few bits can actually now get some adverts going as well. And they can also do lookalike audiences as well. So once you've targeted your actual people who bought from you, you can target people who are similar to them too. So I think that opens up a really big world for those really small people who don't perhaps have a website.
I'm loving that. Absolutely loving that. Yeah.
I think there's so much power in Facebook ads, and people, more often than not, all they're able to do is scratch the surface. And there's so much training around, online training, webinars, YouTube videos. There's so much around, but it's really confusing because there are so many different versions of the interface. So when you log into your ad account, if you're doing it properly and you go into Ads Manager, actually, we've had it before where Jane and I are trying, something's not working quite right, and we're on a call and we're trying to brainstorm and figure it out and all that kind of stuff. And actually, we're both looking at two completely different screens. So even if you watch a tutorial video, it's not necessarily going to match what you're seeing on screen. And it just makes it really confusing for people, really, really tricky.
And they're not even that similar either. So you can't just go, oh, well, it might look a bit like that, because actually they look completely different and you've no clue where you're going some of the time.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. But like I said, the power is definitely there, definitely there. It's, you can target people based on their location, their interests. You can really kind of dive in and get quite granular. And that's before you start looking at lookalike audiences and stuff like that, just sort of the profiling ability that you can tap into. So Paul's just put a question: do you think Facebook ads would work to promote the launch of a networking group? 100% yes. Absolutely. So, in that scenario, you'd say, right, we're launching a networking group in this location. So, for example, I know Paul is looking at creating a BuzzCom community in Peterborough. So he could literally drop a pin on the location where the meeting's going to happen and say, right, anyone within a 2 mile, 5 mile, 20 mile radius, whatever he thinks is appropriate of that area. I want to target anyone that lives in that area or has traveled through that area recently. But I only want my advert to be seen by those people in that area who have an interest in business networking, like entrepreneurship, you know, what else would we put in there? You probably look at age ranges as well within there. You know, you probably don't, you know, you probably not going to have anyone under the age of 18 seeing that ad. You know, it's like I said, there's just so many things from a psychographic as well as a demographic perspective you can put into that. There's also some brands, so things like Federation of Small Business, things like Chambers of Commerce, you can put those in there as interests as well, so that they'll be captured into your audience. But another great thing for someone like Paul, who, you know, he's got people that have liked his Facebook page already, engaged with his content, this is where he can take it on a level, because he can create the lookalike audiences that Jane just mentioned, and basically say to Facebook, okay, I want you to show my advert to anyone within 20 miles of Peterborough who look like someone that engages with the business community already. So then we're not having to kind of create that persona, that avatar. We're not looking through lists and lists of demographics and psychographics. We're getting Facebook to do all of that work. And we say, right, you know, all the people that match the profiles of the audience we've already created and nurtured, that's who we want to target in this brand new area. And the thing is, the power of that costs you the same from an advertising perspective, whether you use that functionality or you don't. And yet there's so much more power in that than just going into a cold audience that is just people in this area, age this to this, male and female, interested in business. You know,
it's so much more useful, and people are just so lured towards that boost post thing.
Yeah. So boosted posts it's like a growth hacking thing. Okay, it's the only thing it's going to give you is numbers on that post. Okay, so people say, oh yeah, well I spent £8 or 13 quid or 21 quid, whatever it is, on an ad, and I've had so many thousands of people have viewed my post. So what? You know, and so great, people have seen your brand, and yes, of course there is value in that. But if you could spend the same money and have people clicking through to your website or filling in a form and giving you their data, and it's cost you the same money, even if you only got a handful of email addresses, it's far more valuable to you as a business than 23,402 people viewing that one post. So some people will use the boost posts as a way of, you know, look at how much engagement we got on this particular activity. But yeah, it's vanity metrics. And when you get that level of views, you tend to get more likes, etc. You might get comments, but it is a vanity thing. And I'm not interested in those metrics. I care about how many leads we get.
Yeah. It is still strange though, don't you think, that there's still a lot of businesses out there who measure their success of a post by like the reach rather than, like, say, that the value that you get from it. And, you know, it's trying to educate, I think, some of our clients on how you need to see the value from it, rather than it went to 25,000 people, you know, who are maybe not even your customers. You know, I think it is an education process, that, and not everyone, and, you know, it can take a while to give that knowledge to somebody, to kind of educate them to not think like that. Do you not think?
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing battle. I think it's a battle that we'll always have. Every business owner, irrelevant of the size of business, wants to see a return on investment when it comes to their marketing activity.
Yeah.
They all see it as a cost to their business, and they really need to be seeing it as an investment instead. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's an education in itself,
yeah,
isn't it?
So I'm constantly thinking, right, how can we position things so people are considering it as investment rather than cost. But then when it comes to that ROI piece, there's this great big gap. So I've done this marketing activity, but I haven't had any results. But that nothing's happened in that void in between. So, you know, we were on a call with some, in fact, I can't remember, Amanda, if you were on the call with me or not, or whether this was a second call. And basically someone had done some email marketing activity. Mm-hmm. And we were reviewing what they'd done. And I said, great, brilliant. So, you know, and have you called these people that have clicked on these links? Mm. Oh, no. Okay, so you're telling me you didn't think there was any, like, you sent one email and you're telling me it didn't work. But first of all, you only sent one. And then when you did send it, you didn't actually look at the results. And you didn't actually do anything with the results you got. And it is this kind of like, you know, and the thing is, once you educate them and you realise, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do, then, you know, people take that leap and all of a sudden they go, actually, yeah, I did get, you know, we got some leads. Actually not, okay, was it a lot of leads? Maybe it was only one or two, but they were two high quality leads that were really easy to convert and did convert. And that's the thing. It's like, you've got this kind of, people talk about MQLs, marketing qualified leads, and SQL, sales qualified leads. And there is a difference. But what happens is you have a marketing qualified lead, becomes sales qualified, and then it's at the bottom of your funnel and you've got money in your bank. But people are just at that, they've not even got as far as qualifying the lead from a marketing perspective, and they're expecting they're wanting the pennies to drop. And that's where we have to do so much education.
Yeah, it's that whole, and I think I've been on some coaching calls with you and done just some one-to-ones this week where we've talked about kind of, the whole throwing mud at the wall, basically. You know, if you've got rubbish data to start with, you're not going to get great results. So if you've got better data and you're more targeted with it, then you qualify those leads, you get better. One email is the same, you know, for any, just think about it. If we see one advert or get one flyer through the door, it's so unlikely you do something with it. It takes multiple touch points.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's clear to say that there's a lot of businesses that are like that. It's not like, it's quite a common theme that works throughout, isn't it? That's the so, you know, any business that is like that, thinking, oh no, that's me, you're not alone. I think it's the
no, you're right. And there is an element of kind of do as we say, not as we do sometimes. You know, we are great. You know, we send out our email marketing every week without fail. And I suppose some of it is we're fortunate that we get so much business through referrals and, you know, the quality of our work, in that we don't have to dig through the data and see who's engaging and then follow them up with a phone call. Yeah. But if you're really focusing on BD, that's what you would be doing, isn't it? Yeah. And that's what we'd be saying to people. If you want to find out who's all over your business, you know, see if they're following your LinkedIn company page. Are they opening those emails? Those are the people you ring first.
Absolutely.
Words.
So if we just skip back to the advertising bit, Paul's just asked a question I'd like to answer. And he said, can you do a video in the ad? Yes, you can. You can have a video or static images. And he said, would that be better than an image ad? So go on, Jane.
I don't know. It depends what your business is. We've had ads with videos in that have worked brilliantly. And we've had other ads with videos in that have completely flopped. And so actually it's a really good idea to run two, one with a video and one with a static image, and measure what happens. And you'll soon find out which one's working and which one isn't. There doesn't seem to be any logic in what works in the video and what doesn't, to be honest.
Yeah, the way you structure so this is the other thing. People hit those like those shiny blue buttons that say click me, boost this, or get more likes, or whatever it might be, and they're kind of like the corner cutting way of doing ads. So if you go through Ads Manager instead, yes, it's a far more painful and a much longer process. There's more steps in there, but actually, again, for the same budget that you're spending, potentially you're going to have far more valuable results. So one of the things that you can do when you go through Ads Manager is you can have basically like multiple versions of your ad running instead of just one version running. So you might have one video ad and a static image, but you might actually have multiple static images. So if you imagine that you've been opening Facebook over the last few days and you keep seeing one particular ad, okay, and maybe actually it's a bit annoying. It's not an image that you particularly like, or has spoken to you or engaged you in any particular way, but you keep seeing this damn thing. Okay, it's because they've probably only got one version running. Whereas actually, if you had, so we ran some ads for a independent financial advisor, okay, and they were talking about sort of pension planning, that kind of stuff. So we had one image that was basically like a, someone of sort of just pre-retirement age, if you like, and they're in the garden. We'd got the second ad, I think they were like on the golf course. The third ad, it looked like they were on holiday, like on a cruise ship or something like that. Another one where they're like playing with kids, like grandkids in the garden. So if you're not a golfer, you're not going to respond to that ad. But next time you see the advert, you see the different creative instead. Maybe you see the image where it's it's like you or someone that you resonate with playing with grandkids, and you've got grandkids. So actually there's a great big sort of thing there as well. So yeah, Amanda, you've just spotted that. We've had an interesting comment, guys. We'll just crack on. So I'll deal with that one later. So yeah, that sort of resonance, if you like, is really, really important. But the reality is that you're only going to respond to those ads that speak to you. Okay, so having those multiple versions, like so you can have 6 versions, 10 different images worth running, and it's still going to cost you £5 a day, £20 a day, 50 quid if you've chosen, 350 quid if you've chosen a lifetime budget. So there's no additional cost in having the multiple versions running. And when, like I say, it takes more time to set them up, but if you do it that way, that's when you get better results.
There's no rules around sort of discrimination for using that for advertising. Is it only if you're advertising, like putting out for jobs?
So yeah, there's special categories. And so basically it's like anything. So things where like employment, definitely, but it's a weird thing. Okay, so in the US, you can only run, in the US, you have to say this advert is a special category advert, i.e. it's an employment ad. Okay. And then that means that you can't target people with, things like postcodes and what have you, because you couldn't discriminate and say, well, we don't want people from that side of town working for our business because, maybe they're, maybe it's a council estate or something like that. And you go, yeah. Oh, we only want people from the villages, and that sort of stuff. But we don't have that same ruling here. So actually we can choose whether we tick that box or not. And because we're outside of the US, we can choose to not say that our employment ad is a special category ad. So it's quite interesting. It is quite interesting.
So from Facebook's point of view, you're not breaking any rules if you really target your ad. But I guess if somebody found out that you'd selected it to go to certain age groups or any male or female, then yes, you could be liable for discrimination.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's putting aside the kind of moral argument of it all. That's obviously you should need to be inclusive. Yeah.
So it is quite interesting. So I mean, Facebook has all sorts of advertising. Yeah, there's all sorts of policies, and it would take you months and months and months to read through it all. But a lot of the policies are there in place to prevent discrimination. A lot of the policies are there to to stop people kind of taking the mick, basically. So when loo rolls and hand sanitizers, about 3 months ago, Facebook made it impossible for you to run ads for those products because it just saw that activities, people capitalizing on what was happening at that time.
Face masks was the big one though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sanitizer
actually
face
advertising
masks were massive. What's really interesting is that a lot of these policies also cover things from a like trying to prevent the spread of false news and hate and that kind of stuff. But actually, the way these policies are enforced are just not good enough. So over the last couple of weeks, there's been, you've probably seen it across the news, there's been all this stuff going on where some big brands are essentially going to boycott advertising on Facebook and Instagram. And some of those brands are actually taking it further, and that, you know, they're including like Twitter ads in that as well. And they're saying they're not going to spend any money on social advertising from now until the end of the year. And the idea being that, you know, if there's enough of them that jump onto this, that we can then, you know, we're going to force Facebook, etc., to actually do something about this, okay, and, you know, and put these controls in place. So it's an interesting question, because at the moment, is there enough of them joining the boycott to make enough of a difference? I don't know. Will there be enough? I'm not sure. But equally, if I'm selling a certain product, so I think it's Coca-Cola and Pepsi have also, or Starbucks have joined as well. So
if Unilever,
they were one of the first ones, it's all big ones. But if I was selling a product and I knew that actually, you know, when I'm running my ads, some of the people that are going to be part of this are, you know, and essentially driving my ad spend up, and now boycotting. So yeah, as an advertiser, should we be boycotting too? Because the reasons are, we want Facebook to put stuff in place so that there's less hate. We're not promoting hate. We're not promoting discrimination, etc. So definitely something we want to get behind. But at the same time, from a commercial standpoint, is this a little bit of an opportunity?
It's really tough for businesses, because if you're a you know, a small business, you've got an ethical background and all the rest, I would, you know as much as the next person, I'm quite happy to get on a soapbox and talk about what's right and wrong, but I'd be really tempted just to carry on advertising. It's a great opportunity. Absolutely.
So
and it feels like there's more these big brands could be doing as well.
Yeah, I mean, so Facebook have sent out an open letter. I think that went out to advertisers. That went out yesterday, and I'll admit I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I intended to read it first thing this morning, and I just wasn't able to. So I'm interested to read that. But I do think that we've almost got a bit of an opportunity coming up in terms of, like I said, when it comes to Facebook advertising, just having a bit more room in, you know, when it comes to the bidding and winning some of those auctions to get eyes on our ads. Depending on how long the boycott lasts for, however, I think we need to record that as well and be mindful of it, because potentially we will be in a scenario where 12 months time, we'll look back at ads that are run in July, August, September and go, well, why were ads working so well last year and they're not now? You know, and it will be for that reason. And I think sometimes we forget about some of this stuff that goes on in the background, that so many things affect the performance of your ads, the performance of your, you know, your organic activity on the platforms as well. And it's kind of like, it's like the politics of the platforms. But when you're then doing your analysis and you're looking back, you kind of forget that actually, okay, that's the trigger point. Actually, there was that shift in that algorithm at that point. You know, why was it we got so many more leads in July and August 2020 versus the year before? Well, actually, it's because they introduced this thing where you can see who's followed your LinkedIn page. So now we could actually pick up on those leads. You know, we kind of forget the timing of some of this stuff. So
I think all marketing data or possibly all data really, when you're looking at business sales and business performance, when you're trying to do a year-on-year comparison, like either comparing this year to last year or next year to this year. So if you looked at, searches for Christmas next year compared to this year, it's going to have dropped probably, because hopefully you think we'll all be going about our normal lives, having summer holidays, we won't even be thinking about it. Whereas now we have that headspace. So it's almost okay, we have to do some reporting, but the comparisons are going to be completely null and void next year.
Yeah, when I worked in retail, we used to actually record on a daily basis what was going on that particular day. So even to the point where it's like, it's a rainy day or something political was happening. So something like general, so that actually when we could go back and look at year-on-year figures, or, we could say, if it was, obviously I was in retail and clothing. So if it was like a really bad summer the previous year, then that would have impacted the figures. So we used to record that on a daily basis to look at, so that you had real reasons to compare the figures.
Yeah, no, absolutely, really smart. Yeah. Okay, so we're coming up to the end of our live lunch session. Have any of you guys got anything else you wanted to add? Any new social media developments or anything you've been working on that you think might be useful to share?
I think we've covered the biggies from me.
Only Paul's last comment, that is obviously he must have read Jane because he's just had his gin package.
No,
Don't talk to Jane about the gin.
Not the gin. No,
Going astray, doesn't it?
Every month it disappears to Corby instead of coming to my house.
So every month Jane has a bottle of gin delivered. I'm going to make it sound like I don't. But yeah, unfortunately, quite often there are issues with Jane's gin delivery.
Yes.
I almost said Gin's Jane delivery there. Maybe that would be more efficient. Maybe
Jane
it to the gin.
Yeah.
Hashtag for Jane, Gin Jane.
Yeah. Jane.
Jane.
Okie dokie. Right, on that note, let's send Jane off to chase the postman, and we'll call it a day there. So thanks for anyone that's tuned in to watch, and thanks to most of the people that commented, yeah, we'll see you next week at 12 o'clock on Facebook for another live lunch. We've got a guest next week, right?
We have ish. They're yet to be confirmed, so it'll be a surprise.
Christina, stop talking. Okay, so yeah, we'll be announcing our guest for next week. And if you want to come on live lunch with us at some point, please just reach out to us, send us a message through the Facebook page, and we'd love to have you on. Cool. Right. See you later, guys. Bye, everyone.
All right.
Bye.